Hi, my name's Penny. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the books that I've read so far in June, which I believe is 5 books. I do feel like I'm a little bit behind on my TBR for this month, but still 5 books in half a month is definitely good, so I should cut myself some slack and stop having such unrealistic expectations. So 2 of the books that I read were audiobooks. The first one is Natural Ordermage by Modesitt Jr. This is the 14th book in the saga of Recluce. This one follows a guy called Rel, who, to be honest, is a little bit of a shithead. He is just always whining. Why don't people explain things to him? Oh, I have to figure things out myself. And this leads him to be exiled from Recluce. So Recluce is an island in this world where people practice order magic, but basically if you practice chaos magic, or in this case if like Rel you just aren't really teachable, they will exile you. They just don't accept anybody who is different staying on the island. They send you out into the world. So Rel gets exiled and ends up in Hamor, which in most of the other books I've read from the Saga of Recluce, Hamor is set up as kind of one of the bad guys as far as I remember. So it was interesting seeing Rel kind of be more accepted in Hamor and that maybe it isn't a bad place. Of course, maybe it was never a bad place and I have just misremembered. Basically, this book followed the general plot that the Saga of Recluce stories do, and that's that a man's life gets disrupted and he has to go out and learn more about the world. And as usual, it was okay. So the second audiobook that I listened to was actually a non-fiction book, and that is The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. So the reason I picked up this book was because I'd seen it in my work library and it looked sort of interesting, but I really like to read these kind of books like in physical form. I find they're better to listen to, so I decided to get the audiobook out of the library. But I was a little bit disappointed. There were some good parts of this. It did give me a little bit of motivation to do some of the things that I know that I should be doing. But in general, Gretchen Rubin is telling her story, and a lot of the things that she struggles with in her life are not things that I struggle with, so it wasn't that relevant to me. I think if you are like a mother who struggles with being really uptight and you find yourself snapping at people and being angry all the time, then this book probably would have a big impact on you, but that is definitely not a description of my life. One thing I did find really weird is that last month I read Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli and then Love Stargirl, the sequel, and Love Stargirl is narrated from Stargirl's point of view, and Stargirl's like this crazy creative character who does really weird things and has like a happiness bucket and just has all sorts of weird projects. And I swear Gretchen Rubin narrates The Happiness Project and she sounded exactly like the person who narrated Love Stargirl, and so in my head I started off imagining that this was Stargirl's Happiness Project, and for the first chapter or 2 that really worked and I really enjoyed it because of that. I could kind of see it as a quirky Stargirl project. It was really only when Gretchen Rubin started talking about how desperate she is for people to give her credit for things and how she couldn't joke about the fact that she snores that it really just broke my connection to Stargirl, because I cannot imagine Stargirl being like that. But still, for a little while, that was kind of weird how a non-fiction and a fiction book started melding together in my head. Then I also read a graphic novel, and that was the 2nd volume of Locke and Key. This volume is called Head Games. Locke and Key follows these children who have returned to their parents' family home after their father has been killed, and they start discovering all these crazy keys that have different magical abilities. This particular volume centers around the head key, which you can see pictured here, which allows you to basically, you stick it in the back of someone's neck, you can open up their head and see all their memories inside, put things in, take them out. It's kind of crazy, but it's also amazing. And there's a whole bunch of other longer story stuff going on around that. I really enjoy the concept of the keys, and I am enjoying the series, although I do wish that I had just gotten them all from the library and binged them all on a day, because I feel like the longer term story that's being slowly revealed is just, I want to know what's going to happen and I don't want to wait. So hopefully I'll get to the next volume in this series really soon, because I do want to find out what's happening. I think I will say, in the first volume, I found the first chapter really confusing, and this one, I did find the first few pages really confusing as to who's who, because it does have, like, some memories. It wasn't 100% clear what was memories and what was current day and what was just imagination. I don't know. I did get a little bit confused, but it was worth it. So then I read 2 physical books, the first of which I've already returned to the library, and that is The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Goa. I don't know if that's how you say it. And I honestly can't really say whether I liked this book or not. It was weird. I guess it was like historical magical realism. Although, if I'm honest, I was never really clear on whether the mermaids were real or not. So the story follows a man named Mr. Hancock, and he ends up gaining possession of a dead, fossilized mermaid baby, as you do, and he decides to display it in like a freak show type thing and try and make some money back on this mermaid, which actually cost him quite a lot. We're also following this prostitute who had kind of set herself up to be married, but that's fallen through, and now she's getting older and she's not really sure how she's going to make her finances work, and she ends up getting involved with Mr. Hancock in unexpected ways. So it's somewhat spoilers to say, but there is a second mermaid later in the book, and it is a different kind of mermaid, and I actually loved this mermaid. It was such a great concept, although it was always described in such a way that, as I say, it just wasn't clear whether it was real or not, or whether people were just imagining it, whether it was all in their heads. And I can't decide if I liked that, or if I wish that there had been more definite description of the mermaid. The writing style did have that very historical feel, which did mean it was a little bit difficult to read, although there were some lines that were just beautiful. And I also really enjoyed the exploration of the themes of family and belonging, which were quite surprising to find in this very weird story where half of it is set in brothels and bachelors' houses. I do think if you like magical realism, historical novels, especially if you have an interest in mermaids, that I think you will really enjoy this book. But if you don't like those things, then I'm just really not sure. So the other physical book I read was Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. This book follows a girl whose brother gets accused of rape by a friend of hers, and she has conflicted feelings about whether she should believe her friend or whether she should believe her brother. And I do again want to note what a beautiful cover it has. I think with this book, from about halfway I really got into it, but the first half was much more teenagery than I was expecting, and I also think there was a romance going on with the main character that was quite distracting from this main storyline. Although I can see with the big picture of the story the author was trying to tell why she thought that was important to add. I was also somewhat frustrated with the ending. There is an author's note about why she ended it like that, and I can understand, but at the same time I really would have liked it to end differently. Really wanted one particular character to learn something from the story, and so it was incredibly frustrating that that didn't happen, although I can see that it possibly is more realistic that way. I do think that this could be a really good story for young girls to read, although obviously trigger warnings for rape, so maybe not. Probably it depends. I did really enjoy the female friendships in this book. I think that's probably the key message that this book kind of brings, which is how much women need to and can support each other in these awful situations. So yeah, that's all the books I've read so far in June. I have also read half of an ebook and half of an audiobook, so I'm close to being another book in, and 6 books. 6 books would be pretty good. So I don't know why I'm dissatisfied with 5 books. Brains are weird. Anyway, if you have read any of these books, then let me know down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about them and find out what you think. Otherwise, I hope that your month of reading is satisfying you more than my month of reading seems to be, even though so far my month of reading is good. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.